So their evidence to the committee was there were two spreadsheets, one which was returned to the Sport Australia at 8:46 a.m, which had changes made to it from the brief that had been sent to the Prime Minister's office the day before, and that those changes were made at the request of the Prime Minister's office. Those were then sent to Sports Australia. Then there was another brief sent later in the day at 12:43, which had made another 10 changes to that. The Audit Office says those were decisions that were taken in the Minister's office. That is the evidence from the ANAO. In light of that, are you going to reflect on the comments you have made to the Senate and to this committee in terms of what your understanding of the facts were?
Well,
Senator Gallagher,
no, sorry, I'm happy to answer.
Well, and I'll give you an opportunity to. Senator Gallagher, could you please explain to the committee the connection that your question has with outcome 1 of the Department of Finance?
Well, it's related to the audit report and comments the Minister has made. It's also a recommendation of the audit report. In fact, one of them is that the guidelines and the are covered by the guidelines that are administered by the Department of Finance, which the government has accepted, and I will be getting to that point shortly.
I look forward to that, Minister.
Good.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Senator Gallagher. I stand by the evidence that I provided yesterday, which was provided based on my state of knowledge. And I mean, in order to inform my state of knowledge, given the questions that were raised by senators in the morning session yesterday, I spoke to Senator McKenzie because the allegation that was made, quite inappropriately, I felt, was that somehow the brief had been backdated, which is not correct. Senator McKenzie gave me an unequivocal reassurance, no ifs, no buts, that she signed the decision brief on the 4th of April. She subsequently travelled, which is, as I understand it, though I'm not aware of all of the mechanics of this, but she subsequently travelled, which is why I understand there might have been some delay in the logistics of getting the brief back to Sports Australia. My advice is that subsequent communications between then Minister McKenzie's office and the Prime Minister's office related to announcement arrangements. I don't have any knowledge beyond that, and as I've indicated to you as Minister for Finance, I do not have visibility of specific decisions on grants applications in this or any other portfolio for that matter. I mean, if it's a portfolio that does come under the Commonwealth Grants rules and guidelines, there are certain reporting requirements to the Finance Minister. Not even, in relation to Sports Australia, those reporting requirements did not apply. So I did not have any capacity to have visibility in relation to these things. And, I've been reassured by the Minister that she approved the brief on the 4th of April, consistent with the programme guidelines that had been issued by Sport Australia.
So the Audit Office's evidence to the committee last night is incorrect? Well, is that what you're alleging?
No, well, all I can do is answer your questions to the best of my ability. I can't speak for the Audit Office. I can only speak for myself. And the answers that I'm giving you are the answers based on my state of knowledge.
Yeah, and I'm asking you, based on the evidence the Audit Office has given this committee, is that decisions were being made on the 10th and 11th of April and then attached to a brief that was signed on the 4th, are inconsistent with the answers that you have given in the Senate and in this committee.
Well, I'm not aware of the basis of why the Audit Office is saying what they're saying, based on what I know.
Because they have the spreadsheets. Well, they have the evidence. That's what they told us last night.
Well, again, I've seen a lot of evidence under the Senate Select Committee inquiry from the Audit Office where they made very clear that no project which received funding was ineligible to receive funding. No project was ineligible.
At the time of assessment,
I've seen evidence where they've indicated that they could not observe the sort of bias that Labor is suggesting there was.
But we're
The
going to a
Senate
different point
The Senate
here.
Select Committee will have the opportunity to get all of the relevant parties in front of the committee to provide evidence. I had no involvement in that particular grants program.
So
I have
my
no
questions
visibility.
are about the answers you are giving and making sure. And I know that you are a stickler for being correct and treating the Senate and committees with respect. But frankly, you have made comments such as any communication between Senator McKenzie's office and the PMO subsequent to that date, the 10th and the 11th of April, were around announcement logistics and making arrangements for the relevant announcement schedule. Now, that is clear, based on the evidence of the Audit Office last night, not to be correct. The Audit Office has said they were making decisions where projects were moving in and out, allocations of funds were being changed, and they were being changed when the Caretaker Convention had kicked in. Now that I'm asking from your comments that you're making, not anybody else, but whether or not you need to reflect on your comments and make a further statement.
Let me say it again. As Finance Minister, I had no visibility in relation to this programme whatsoever, none, in terms of decisions in relation to grant applications. In fact, there wasn't even the otherwise applicable reporting requirements because Sports Australia as a corporate entity wasn't subject to the Commonwealth grants rules and guidelines. In relation to the matters I addressed yesterday, in my capacity as representative minister for another portfolio, the answers I provided were based on the advice that I was given. And as such, I mean, I don't have any other capacity to make up other answers. In a representative capacity, all I can do is to rely on the advice that I was given, and the advice I was given directly by Senator McKenzie was that she signed the decision brief on the 4th of April, and that subsequent communications related to announcement arrangements. Now, all I can say, there's a dedicated Select Committee looking into the operation of this grants program. The establishment of that Select Committee is something that we supported as a government, and there will be ample opportunity to explore the diversity of views and perspectives that is there. I'm not aware of the basis on which the Auditor General's office made the statements they made, because I don't have direct visibility of all of the relevant processes.